In June of 1999, a small group of Christians were led by God to Israel. From the top of Masada, they saw the remains of what was the great city of Gomorrah. In this photograph, you see what appears to be rock formations and sand. But when the regular shapes are outlined, the formations take on a whole new meaning. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. And Abraham gat up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace.
And as we come from the Dead Sea Plains and we come up, you see the whole city. You can see the sides of the houses. We have some more of the pyramid-like objects there. The whole city was covered by anywhere between 20 and 50 feet of ash. So where we're standing right now is probably over, completely covered what's there. But on some of the cliff sides, you can still see the regular features that indicate something was there before. And again, this is all ash and rock.
Just keeps breaking up?
Yeah, so you take a piece like this, okay?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You see, all around us are stones that have the same kind of feature. The part that was down, that was facing away from the heat, is still a normal color, but the outside edge is blackened and the top covered with ash. And there are just thousands of these stones around that show this exact same feature. Wherever they were laying, the heat from the fire, even if it wasn't in the city, was so intense that it literally cooked the stones.
Even now you can make out the features on the remains of the Sphinx.
If you notice closely here, you can see the little lines of the different layers, and there are swirls and curlicues and other, folding back in on itself. Not the kind of thing you would see if this was deposited year after year, but the result of the intense heat, the 6,000 degree heat, literally making the stone, the atoms in the stone separate and start to stratify in layers and move around. It was so intense it literally took the stone and converted it to ash. And you can see it still just comes right off in your hand. These layers are so thin that you can separate them. So if I find a piece here, you can separate one of these layers. See how thin it is, but it can hardly support its own weight. If I took a bigger piece, see, you can hardly pick this up without it just falling apart. This is once stone. Now it's just dust.
Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy, and they were haughty and committed abominations before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw good.
And yet, you're right here in front of Masada. You're going up the road, you're going up the tram to the top, and this dead city is sitting before you, and no one has come out to recognize it for what it is. You see the city runs almost back to the hills. Nothing lives out here. No vegetation whatsoever. No animals. It's just as dead now as it was 4,000 years ago. If God does not judge America, He's going to have to apologize to the inhabitants of this place.
This is the stuff, folks. This is the stuff. Come here. I want to show you something, people of America. Look, look, look. Did you see that? He's just scraping, folks, he's just scraping the top of the surface, and the sulfur is right underneath the surface. Look at this. Look at this. He's pulling brimstone right out of the ground. And see what happens when the brimstone hits this, it burns everything and it gets smothered so the fire goes out. Otherwise, it would just continue to burn until it was consumed. That's why some pieces are bigger than others. Once
this stuff stinks.
It basically got smothered in its own grave, if you will, and it's left here thousands of years later as evidence of the judgment of the Lord. See there? There it is right there. And if you scratch it just slightly, the yellow color comes right out.
Yeah. Yes. This. Hallelujah, praise the Lord.
Here's some more right here. See that? So, I mean, folks, you got to be convinced by now. You really just got to be. Because, gee whiz, I sure didn't come out here last night and put all this out here. Yeah, more. See, I like this because it's still encased in the dirt. When we burn it, which you will see, you'll see the dirt doesn't burn, but the sulfur does. And that you'll know for sure that it is definitely not the same as what we're finding at just what's out here, the ash itself. And again, folks, this stuff just crumbles. It's worthless. There is no substance left to whatever this once was, whether it was a wall or a rock face or what it was. It's utterly destroyed. Nothing grows out here. Nothing. Zero. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is just a tiny, tiny piece of soil. Tiny piece of brimstone from New Kingdom's archaeological team. Okay. The airship would need a little help here. Get a little
You're just doing a little one.
Need a little more wind guard. Immediately sets on fire, as you can see. Immediately begins on fire.
Oh, this is already burning. See the little yellow around it?
It immediately sets on fire.
So is that sulfur around it?
It is sulfur.
Yeah, brimstone is sulfur.
And it continues to burn. Now imagine billions of these falling from the sky, already lit, you know, this big.
The only reason we found these was that they were, as the ash piled up around them, from everything that was just obliterated, it could actually suffocate the fire. We couldn't get any more oxygen, it stopped burning. So we found pieces of brimstone. They were probably much larger when it first started burning.
But what was left because the fire went out. You see that?
So you found
it's
this
still
in the
lit.
area.
Yes.
And now it's consumed.
And that's the same ash we found down there.
So do you all have to dig quite deep?
No, it's right there.
Just underneath the surface. It was all over the place.
Wow.
And the ash is like, oh, I suppose the closest I can think of would be like,
The fumes are toxic.
Okay, so you don't smell.
okay, you don't want to be downwind of it.
There's a little bit of a breeze right here. And immediately it burns. Immediately. It immediately begins to burn.
Whoa, that's been more than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any very big one?
See, some of the pieces we have still have the crust and casing that it was in, the ground that it got suffocated in. And so you try to light the sand or the ash and nothing burns. But if you light the
Look at consume a match. Just the heat of it's consuming the match.
yeah, so if there's anything flammable around, poof, it set it on fire.
It's still burning, it's just bubbling.
That's amazing.
It's liquefied here.
You see, folks, you don't want to be outside when this stuff lands, because if it's on your skin doing this, you're not exactly putting this one out. Great torch material, huh?
That's what they use on matches. One giant matchstick. The wind will not
I
put
mean,
it
just
out.
imagine chunks, you know.